Okay, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I am here with Anu and Mike. And we just finished working with baby Sid, who at the time of sleep coaching was 6.5 months of age. And I just want to preface this conversation that Sid was a really hard case. And it took us 2 months. But you know what? Sid's sleeping. And it's okay if it takes a while. But I think it's really important for families to hear from parents that what their life looked like before, why they decided to get the help, what it looks like now, and what the process felt like, because there always is hope. But sometimes they need a lot of help, right? So why don't you guys tell me what life looked like before you called me?
I'll kick it off. Okay. Sleep was very challenging for us. That's why we reached out to you. We didn't feel like we had a good, credible expert resource to call on for our sleep questions. So we were constantly kind of doing our own research, pulling this from a book, pulling that from a website. We didn't really know what to go by. And we didn't have like a coherent approach for his sleep throughout the day and throughout the night. And we had our different approaches, our different methods.
Of crutching him. And he had multiple wake ups during the night, and every time it would be a new variable that we would try. Oh, maybe he's hungry. Oh, maybe it's a burp, or maybe it's something. So every time it was a new thing, we would try to get him back to sleep.
Yeah, and every night was different for you guys. Yeah. And you know, so there was lots of rocking and patting and singing, and mom would try and then it wouldn't work, and so then dad had to be called in to try, and so there was all this kind of, everybody was on duty. It was like all hands on deck all the time. And then you guys were co-sleeping because he was so ornery and was like only wanted to be with mom. You know, and how was that you know, again, because of all the different things Sid was needing and wanting, and also he had a huge mom preference, which he was like all mom all the time. And so here was Mike, this totally available, interested, willing dad, and then Sid was like, no. And so there was all this kind of like, so tell me about like kind of that awkward stuff that was going on in the relationship, or with kind of the way you were feeling, mom, about being on duty all the time.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting no break at all, and there was like I could never let my guard down. Even if dad was trying, I had to be around to check if things were going okay. I couldn't just leave the room and forget about it. Yeah, that was tough. It was emotionally tough. It was psychologically tough. It was straining our relationship, because I would hold, contempt against him, that he's not, in my mind, I'm like, you're not trying hard enough. But there he was trying really hard, and it just wouldn't have it. So.
Yeah, and how'd that feel for you, Mike?
And he also didn't take a bottle very well in those days, especially for me. So that was really challenging, and it meant that every time he woke up in the night, we kind of assumed that he was waking up because he was hungry, and because he wouldn't take a bottle, therefore you had to nurse him. So you were having to get up every time that he got up. And that's one thing that really changed in our work with you, Joanna, is that we got some data points on his actual need for a bottle or breastfeeding at night, and realized that he in fact was getting big enough that he could go through the night without a feed as long as he was well fed before bed.
Yeah.
And so these arousals were not being caused by hunger, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that conundrum where mom has to do all the nighttime caregiving because the demands of the nursing, because he won't take a bottle, like all of that creates that tension between, why can't you help me? And you're like, I want to help you, but then the baby's like, no. And then and then again you go back to, well, that worked last night, let's do that again, and then that doesn't work tonight. And so there's all this like confusion and inconsistency with what's working or not working. And then you guys maybe trying to help each other, but then Sid's like, no, it's different tonight. And you're like, what? You know, so what made you finally decide to say, okay, look, we're enough of reading 1,000 articles and asking all my friends what to do. What made you finally decide, okay, no, we need help. We need to
Yeah,
focus.
good question. It was mostly that we were both finding not conflicting information, but both of us were being fed different information. And so we were not really agreeing. We didn't have a plan. And it was just better for us to get instructions from a third party who has seen multiple cases and has the expertise rather than us trying to figure it out. And the only way we could do that is by having a sleep coach. Pediatricians really don't have the time to handhold every child that they see. So yeah, we really needed the hand holding that you provided.
Yeah.
And there were certain things about your approach that we were drawn to as well that I think lined up nicely with things that we both valued. So the fact that it was a data-driven and scientific method, and that it was that it had firm guidelines, but that it was not at all a cry it out approach.
No.
It was like compassionate, and it was based on understanding your kid and meeting their needs throughout the day and in the time leading up to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And taking into account what was going on with each of you, like all the dynamics going on in the household, the demands of the work schedule, the nursing goals, and how we were going to step down really, really gently and appropriately so that mom felt really comfortable with the decisions, right? Because, you know, when you're really effective sleep coaching is you're absolutely focusing on the child and really getting into the details and the nuance of the child, but you're also getting into the details and nuance of what's going on with mom, what's going on with dad, what's going on with the family unit, so that there can be this collaboration. Like we call ourselves, you know, Team Sid, right? Because it's not my sleep plan that you're executing, it's our sleep plan on behalf of Sid with everybody in consideration. Yeah. And so now that Sid's sleeping, okay, so he's sleeping really good. He's sleeping in his own room, right? Bedtime is smooth. We know his needs are. You guys have been able to actually move in to do some daycare and feel comfortable having someone else caregive him, which would have never happened before. Your confidence in being able to hand him over to someone else, right? You're too scared. How is life different now? Like how do you feel now that you're sleeping, and how do you feel about Sid? Is he different? What can you attribute to, wow, I got to the other side? What does that mean for you guys?
I would say the fact that he's able to sleep through the night. Of course, each night is not a perfect night, but what counts is that most nights are good. It's been able to give us time in the evening to just sit and chill and not have to be on high alert. Oh, we need to go upstairs. He might wake up any minute. We are able to sit down and have our dinner. It's and just knowing that, just that question, is he hungry? Is that why he's waking up? Is he hungry? Is that why he's waking up? Now we know he's not. And that's a huge, for me, it was a big relief.
And yeah, the fact that we're aligned when it comes to the methods and that we have confidence in them and that they're, again, backed by data and observations of our kid and his situation, that means a lot. For me, the fact that I've been the primary coach has also been a positive in terms of my bonding with him. It's a time that I look forward to every night. I mean, not to say that Anu is not a part of the bedtime routine, she definitely is. But then when it comes to actually going into the room and doing stories and the final bits of the bedtime ritual, I really enjoy that part with him. And I can look forward to it and feel confident about it every night. And then I know that when the time comes and I've seen the right cues from him, that it's time for me to just get it out of the way. That it's not ultimately up to me to put him to sleep, but to kind of respect his needs and just back out and leave the room, and he can then take it from there as a final the last mile of getting himself down.
Yeah, beautifully said, Dad. Beautifully said. Yes. And so that dynamic that you guys started with, that kind of mommy preference, it has to be mom every time, is no longer there. Like now we've got some like equal caretaking going on. Dad's confident with what he can do, when he can do it, how he's going to do it. But more importantly, mom trusts
Yeah.
that dad is doing it the way she likes it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's never this like, no, let me see if you're doing it right. Or you need to be doing it better or different. No, it's like mom's like, you know what? She's putting him in bed.
Yep.
And so mom can like go tend to herself when it's bedtime, because now dad's is doing bedtime with Sid and he loves it and it's great. So and then you guys have that time in the evening now, because he goes to bed around 6:30. So you guys have a whole evening. You have hours back in your life that you didn't have before. Hours, right? In the evening?
Yep.
Maybe 3 hours that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
Time for leisurely dinner, bike ride, catching up on things we've missed during the day.
Yeah.
From the day.
Yeah. So what would you tell a family that was like, we've tried everything. He's a really difficult kid. He's not a good sleeper. We've tried everything. What would you like to tell them?
That it will get better, that there is hope. That's what we thought too, and it got better for us. So I'm sure it's just a matter of finding what works for each kid. And if they have tried everything, they probably haven't tried the one thing that works for that kid.
And I would say that to remind themselves as parents that they don't have to be experts at everything, that they shouldn't expect to be geniuses when it comes to sleep and geniuses when it comes to feeding the baby and interacting with the baby and teaching their baby. There's people who have spent many years studying these areas, and you'll serve your child well by reaching out to them and learning from their best practices and then applying them in a way that fits your own child.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's not, that reaching out for help is sometimes required, and that it can be a real blessing, and it doesn't make you any less of a parent because you reached out for help. It means you're, like you said, like accessing the best practices to be applied to your unique situation.
Yeah.
And not struggling and flailing and, you know.
Right. It's like trying to fix a sink. You may not be a plumber and you'll only cause more damage if you try to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, well, I'm so happy that Sid is sleeping good. He's a darling boy, and he was a tough one, but we got him sleeping really well, and we are happy about that you guys have hours back in your life and are feeling comfortable and confident and have that equal co-parenting. So thank you.
Thank you, Joanna.
You're welcome.